When I say we need to unite the 80%, I'm not saying we need 80% of Democrats and 80% of Republicans to leave their parties and come together in some way. What I'm saying is 100% of us need to unite around the 80% of objective truth that revolves around every single debate that we have. When it comes down to it, our ideological differences, we're actually arguing subjectivity. We're arguing how someone else feels compared to how we feel about something. And we're ignoring the fact that we actually agree with about 80% of the arguments surrounding that ideological difference. And it's leading to further divide when it doesn't have to. Let's take abortion for one example. The main arguments from both sides of the abortion debate we all actually agree with. One side says we shouldn't be going around murdering babies. The other side says everyone has a right to their own decisions about their own body. And that's 80% of the abortion debate. And everyone agrees with those two things. No one wants to go around murdering babies, and no one wants to go around taking rights away from people's bodies. The debate on abortion, which leads people to hate each other, lives in the 20% of subjectivity, personal opinion, and personal view. No, as humans, we shouldn't be murdering each other. So, at what point in the pregnancy, if at all, does that fetus become its own human being just like you and me? That's the entire argument. And some people feel as soon as there's a heartbeat, it's a human. And some people feel until it's viable, it's not its own human. And many people fall somewhere in between. But if that's how someone feels, you're never going to argue them to feel differently about it. You can't control how you feel. You can control your response and your reaction to how you feel, but not how you feel deep down. Another example is taxes. Everyone agrees that if you work for 40 hours a week, you should be paid for 40 hours a week, not 30. Most everyone also agrees that in a first world, wealthy, civilized society, we should be able to pool our money together to make sure we're helping people that truly need the help. And again, the debate and all that is how someone feels personally. How much can you take from someone to help provide for others that becomes too much to take from that person? How much help is too much help for others or too little help for others? We can find agreement. We can all agree that while no one should have money stolen from them for their labor, that we do need to take a little bit in order to provide for people who truly need it. How do we do that? But we can all also agree that there's a limit to how much should be taken from people, and that human beings are perfectly capable of taking care of themselves unless you take everything from them so they can't. And if we start from there, we can work out the compromise somewhere in between. That's rational and makes common sense. So we need to reunite the 80%. We need to start our ideological debates with the 80% objective truths that we all agree with. But we also need to understand that there's going to be a subjective element to it based on personal opinion. That's what subjectivity is. It's diversity. And the third part to uniting the 80 is understanding why someone who feels differently than you feels that way. And you don't have to change how you feel to understand why they feel the way they do. Of course, if someone sees a fetus no different than a human like you and I, then of course they're against abortion because we all agree no one should be murdering other humans. So even if you don't agree with something, you can understand why someone does agree with something. It doesn't make them barbaric, it doesn't make them stupid, it doesn't make them crazy, it doesn't make them a POS. But we base all of our arguments, all of our fighting, and all of our hatred toward each other on this 20% of subjectivity instead of accepting subjectivity. And in turn, the policies that get enacted end up being based around this 20% of subjectivity, which alienates the 80% of objective truth that we all agree with. Identify the objective truth, accept the subjectivity, and find compromise. That way we can get back to seeing our neighbors with a different opinion as neighbors with a different opinion and not as our enemies. We have to reunite the 80%.